Hi, you're listening to This Is Not Your Practice Life. I'm your host, Macy Renee, and we are going on a journey together, my friends. I'm a certified life and emotional intelligence coach. And if you really want to step into your highest self, there are a few non-negotiables you're going to have to learn, and I am just the person to help you do it. No matter your past, I'm here to help you create a more fulfilling future. So stick around with me. Not only will I teach you how to navigate your brain's daily mind drama, but I'll help you actually understand your mind, your emotions, why you do the things you do, and why others do the things they do. Most importantly, I'll help you build the self-awareness skills to create whatever results you want. It's never too late to change the trajectory of your life. After all, this is not your practice life. Good morning, friends. Welcome back to another episode of This Is Not Your Practice Life podcast. I am Macy, and I am so excited that you're joining me today. I have a surprise for you. So I've been a little bit behind on recording podcasts the last 2 weeks. I've just had a lot happening and going on, a lot that I've been juggling, especially with new things coming. And I was like, you know what? It's just not fair that they haven't received a podcast in 2 weeks. So I'm going to do something fun, and I'm going to record 3 episodes and release them all this week. So you are getting an episode today and tomorrow and the next day, so that if you like to binge, you can binge. And what I want to say just really quickly as a quick announcement is that we are in Black Friday week, which is awesome. We're in Black Friday week, and I do have a couple of specials. If you're on my email list, just be sure you're watching for my emails. I highly recommend, if you are on my email list, just to flag my email if you know how to do that, just because that'll keep things from going into junk or spam, and that way you won't miss anything. I do have a good amount of people that are signed up on my email list, but probably never see the emails just because they go to junk. So flag my email if you haven't already, if you're on my list. Other than that, what I want to let you know is through the 29th, the end of the day, through the 29th, I have a few different things going on. You can save 25% on the Miami retreat that is happening in April of next year. That is the one and only retreat that I will be doing next year. And I have to tell you, this year I was reflecting on why has this year been so good, but so tiring? And it just so happens that I was going through my camera roll one night and realized I have hosted 3 retreats this year. Totally accidentally. That is normally not the norm, but because of how programs ended and fell, with the dates, I have hosted 3. 2 of them being the hybrid experience, which is a program that's advanced that is now kind of being pushed. It's not going away forever, but it's not going to be offered anytime in the near future because of new advanced things that I'm working on. And I'm really excited to reveal that. You all will get to hear the big reveal on December 16th. So PS, make sure you're following me on social media. Make sure you're on my email list for that. I'm sending out little teasers and things like that already. And I'm just so excited to tell you what's coming. But anyways, at the end of hybrid, the women get a retreat. So it just so happened that there was a retreat that fell in January, and then there was the standalone retreat that was welcome to anybody. They didn't have to be in any certain program, and that was in St. George, Utah in February. And then there was another round of hybrid where, at the end of their retreat, we were in Breckenridge, Colorado, and that was just this past September. And I'm no wonder I'm so full this year. It's been so enriching to be able to spend so much time with clients, but also I'm exhausted. I'm 3 retreats in a year is no small feat. Okay, 1 retreat in a year is major, let alone pulling off 3. So in 2026, there's only going to be 1. It's in April. It's in Miami. And this week through the 29th, if you sign up, you get 2 special things with Black Friday. 1, you get 25% off. And 2, you also get to opt in to both of my mini coaching programs at no additional cost if you've never taken them before, or if you just want to refresh. Okay, so if there's one or another or both, whatever, that you haven't taken, if you join Miami, not only do you save 25% off of your enrollment and get to come to Miami and hang out with me and many other women, but you also get to take the mini coaching programs for no additional cost. That's $797 that you save. Second Black Friday offer is private coaching. Private coaching, I am running $500 off of my package. And again, you get to enroll or opt in into the mini coaching programs, whichever one you're missing, or if you want a refresh on both. Okay. So I'm really excited for these 2 Black Friday things, and I just wanted to give you a heads up because you have to take advantage while it's here. You can message me, email me for the codes if you're not on my email list. Get in touch with me on social media. Just get in touch with me before November 29th because I do have discount codes you'll use at checkout. But in order to get those, you'll need to reach out to me. coaching@maceyrenee.com is my email. I'll put it in the show notes. All right, let's get started on today's topic. So this is actually a requested topic from one of the ladies in my audience, and she sent me a message a little while ago and explained her situation, and I decided to create a podcast around it because not only after she brought this up did I think it was great to touch on, but then I proceeded to coach basically 2 more clients that I have on some version of this topic. So I think we need to talk about it, and I'm titling it The Difference Between Support and Emotional Labor. Okay. And here's what it revolves around. It's going to revolve around friendships. Because, friendships are a really big deal. Obviously, we love our friends many times. But if you are someone that is doing kind of your self-introspective work, self-awareness work, you may find that there's a point in time where the relationship feels a little imbalanced, maybe for a few different reasons, but especially because of some things that I'm going to discuss. I'm not going to go into it yet, but here's what I want you to know. We're going to talk about this, and we're going to talk about how you can spot the difference between offering support and actually being in kind of this energetic emotional labor. Okay. So here's what happens, or the difference, I should say, between the 2 of these. Support is when both people in this friendship or relationship with one another bring presence, care, and reciprocity. I can never say that word. Reciprocate. I can say reciprocity to the relationship. Okay, so it will feel very equal. It will feel like you're both on the same page. It will often feel like you're kind of in the same energetic wavelength. Then there is also emotional labor, and this is when one person in the relationship becomes kind of like the regulator, like the emotional regulator, and the fixer, the problem solver, the processor, the container, whatever word you want to put to it. And it's often at the expense of their own emotional bandwidth or capacity, as I like to say. So support will feel very shared, whereas emotional labor will start to feel heavy and may create some feelings of resentment or frustration, whether they are communicating that to the other person or not. So I think there's a moment in every single woman's life when she realizes, especially in maybe a friendship like this, where it crosses the line between I'm no longer giving support, I am now carrying this person through their life. And a lot of women don't even notice when exactly this shift happens because emotional labor will often look like support on the surface. Okay, so it will feel like you're just offering support, but the difference is actually in the cost that you're paying, and it's subconscious a lot of times, and it's sneaky because support will strengthen you and strengthen your friendship, and again feel very good when you're interacting with your friend. It will feel very relational. It will feel a lot like you're connected to one another, and emotional labor will kind of feel like the opposite. It will start to feel like you're being drained. It will start to feel a little bit one-sided, and it will also, this sneaky kind of way, feel like it's an obligation. And here's what I will tell you. When you are a woman that is working on your emotional intelligence, okay, your self-awareness, your mindset, you are doing a lot of introspective work, you will often attract this dynamic of emotional labor because you are such a safe person. You're a thoughtful person. You're a good listener. You're excellent at holding space. And you kind of, without even realizing it, become the one person that people trust with the really hard stuff in life. Okay? But here's what I want to tell you. Support does not mean that you need to become the emotional parent in your friendships. There, I said that. I said it, okay? This goes for any of the women that have been working with me, because I will tell you, the women that work with me, they grow their emotional intelligence by a lot, okay? And so this is a common dynamic that will happen. It usually shows up first as women coming to me and saying, my friendships are feeling a little different than they used to. I still love this friend. I still love this person. It's just not feeling the same. I want to connect with women who get me, who are on the same page, who also have something to offer, where I don't feel like I'm doing all of this kind of like coaching or teaching. Like, that's not what I signed up for. I signed up for friendship, and it used to feel like friendship. And now that I've grown, it's not feeling quite the same, and I don't know what's happening. So we're going to talk about that, okay? So here is where emotional labor begins, like signs that you know that a line has been crossed. So if you are bracing yourself every time their name pops up on your phone, you've probably been in emotional labor with them, like really helping them through their life, or they've been really depending on you to feel better, okay? Another sign is if you're carrying their emotions longer than they do. Like if you're staying up thinking about, what's happening with them, what's going on, how you're going to solve their problem, what you're going to tell them next, like you're kind of exiting the presence of your own life, thinking about them, that's a big thing. If you're their first call in a crisis, but they're not your first call, okay? So again, they're calling you, you're the first one they call when they're in crisis, but it's not the same, or it's not equal being reversed. Like you wouldn't call them first, you're probably in emotional labor with this friend. If you feel responsible for the outcomes that they're getting, or you leave conversations feeling depleted instead of full and connected, or if they're wanting your advice, but they never apply it because what they actually want is like soothing from you, not necessarily support or an actual solution to the problem, that's another sign that you're giving a lot of emotional labor. Or if you feel guilty even thinking about saying something to them, like, I cannot talk right now. I just cannot talk right now. If that makes you feel guilty, or especially if they respond and they get frustrated or mad, or they feel like you're distant, then you're probably in some sort of emotional labor with this friend. And these experiences that you're having aren't you necessarily being a good friend as much as they are you going through a lot of labor, feeling like what I call being drained by an energy vampire. And I just want to say, like, it doesn't mean this friend's a bad person, that what they're doing is malicious, or that they have this intent consciously. A lot of times for them, it's just like you become the energy that lights up a room, or you become the energy that feels very safe because you have learned emotional intelligence skills. You have learned how to be regulated in your nervous system. And there's something I tell my clients where when you become this person, if you don't know how to close off, like, and I mean close off as in like create almost this energetic kind of boundary around yourself, or this energetic barrier around yourself, then people will attach to your energy and suck you dry, truly, even if they don't know they're doing it. So you have to be aware of if you are in this position with a friend, because if not, you're going to kind of feel drained or dread even coming around that friend, even though you love them to death. It'll feel a lot like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why our dynamic feels so terrible right now, or why I feel this way when this has been one of my best friends. A lot of times it's because as you grew, the energy and dynamic changed just because you changed, right? And the friend is maybe staying the same. They're not doing the same work that you're doing. And so that now there's a disconnect, and you're overcompensating for the disconnect with really good intentions. The intentions that you likely have are like, I want you to feel as good as I feel. I want you to experience life the way that I see life now. I remember when we were both on the same energetic page and when we were complaining about the same things or bitching about the same things or, like doing all of this whining and complaining together. Like, I call it with my clients jumping in the pool when someone like goes into all of the drama they're having. A lot of times before you have self-awareness work, you will, quote, jump in the pool and engage in all of the drama, sharing your own drama, and both people drown in the drama instead of someone being level-headed, emotionally regulated, and being like, well, how else can we think about this? Or how can we solve this problem? Or what are some other options that might be available for me? Or what are some other ways to think about this? That process takes a lot of work. So if you've started doing that work and then you have a friend who is still swimming in the pool of drama and their life sucks and they feel bad and they're not happy in their marriage and they're not happy in, parenting, and it's just like it's too much, work is too much, they're not getting paid what they want to get paid, right? And they're coming to you, now you feel like a light and you feel like a safe place, and they go to emotionally dump it, and then you're trying to solve it. You see what I'm saying? It's a whole different dynamic, especially if you're doing that all the freaking time. So here is where support lives, like the contrast. Support actually happens when you can be honest without tiptoeing. So this is like whenever you can have real hard conversations with your friends and be like, listen, I hear everything you're saying about your life, your marriage, your job, the money, the kids, but I have to be honest with you about something. Like, and it could be something like saying like, this is truly optional. Like there are definite solutions to solving this. Do you want some feedback, or do you want me to share with you some things that have helped me? It doesn't mean that your friend is always going to want to take it, but how you'll be emotionally drained is if they immediately shut down, if they don't want to hear it, if you feel like after what you've shared, and you want to share it with love, right? But if after what you've shared shuts them down and they go MIA, they're probably just in a place where they want to dump because they feel better when you take on that energy and you're worried about it or you're trying to solve it. Okay? So another place where support lives is when the conversation goes both ways. So maybe they share hard things, but you also share hard things, but then they share solutions and you're sharing solutions. It's like an equal playing field. This is what the women in my programs, especially group programs and especially advanced programs, learn how to do. Again, I'm always telling them, do not jump in the pool. I know that it's tempting. I know that you want to. Sometimes even as the coach, I will tell them and laugh and I'll be like, I am totally wanting to jump in the pool with you right now. Like totally. It's really hard for me to be neutral. But you want to be able to hold space and allow the conversation to go both ways. You want them to also exercise their power, not be dependent on you, and vice versa. Okay? Another place where support lives is not being or feeling responsible for managing the emotional state of your friends. Like you can be worried about them and want the best for them, but it's very different when you are taking on their entire emotional state. Like you're wanting to manage it. You're like really worried about fixing it, or your emotional state starts to feel drained because of their emotional state. That's a big one. And with support, you want to make sure that your friends are also asking about you too, not just what you can do for them, but they are actually holding space and being able to be supportive for you as well. You should be in a supportive relationship able to set boundaries without repercussions and have someone understand those boundaries. It doesn't mean that they're going to like them. And it doesn't mean that maybe you won't get some questions, like follow-up questions, or maybe even a little bit of pushback. But if you set a boundary with someone, you want them to be able to honor your boundary. That is a sign of both parties being very emotionally mature, especially when you can set boundaries and someone's not throwing a tantrum. Like, okay, I will respect your boundary. That's huge. When your energy feels steady after engaging with your friends and you don't feel like you were absolutely drained, like a vampire just sucked all the life out of you, that's when you know that you have a very supportive friendship. And especially like if you leave your friendships feeling full and you know that they do too, right? There's like clear kind of evidence that both of you feel just so lifted and healthy and happy after a conversation, that is huge. And also, last but not least, like with support, is that when you leave conversations with them or engagements with them, you want to feel closer to them, not like you were used. That's a big, big piece. So, the thing about it is, and all the women I coach is, and I think things that like women don't always realize is that being the strong one in the relationship, and strong one like emotionally strong, emotionally regulated, emotionally intelligent, doesn't mean that you have to be their superhero or like the only source of them feeling good. That you don't, it doesn't mean that this empathetic kind of behavior that you have for people or all the empathy that you can carry, it doesn't mean that you then become the place that they always land, like where it's one-sided. Having emotional intelligence doesn't make you responsible for someone else's emotional world. They are responsible for their emotional world, just like you're responsible for your emotional world. If you're doing this with anybody, you need to look at this. If you think you're doing this with someone, you want to ask them, do you feel like our friendship is equal, or do you ever feel like I'm dumping on you all the time or constantly coming to you to feel better? Because I will tell you that the natural thing you will notice is if your friends are pulling away, if your friends are getting a little distant, you've probably been emotionally dumping, or they might just be going through something, right? Sometimes friends like separate themselves when they're going through something and they want to be in their own little world. It's not always great, right? If they have like kind of a habit of isolating instead of asking for help. But in this particular context, if a lot of your friends are always like distant, you have to kind of ask yourself, have I been just like dumping on them without reciprocating? Do I ever let them come to me? Do I ever offer them support the way that they offer me support? Those are really important questions to ask yourself as well if you feel like you're on, the end of another friend being in emotional labor for you. And, when a friendship starts to feel like emotional labor, it's not because you're thinking about it dramatically or you're being overly sensitive. It's often like a signal that your nervous system is saying, like, this is just too much for me to carry. So you want to pay attention to those signs. They're really, really important. And oftentimes the follow-up to this is that it often means you have to have a hard conversation. And this is the part my clients probably hate the most, is when I'm like, you know what this means, right? And they're like, what? And I'm like, you have to have a hard conversation. Like, you're going to have to tell them how you feel and, maybe create some boundaries or give them some examples or share with them what your experience is. And it doesn't mean that they're going to respond in the best way, but you do need to share that. Otherwise, you're going to be silently resentful, and you don't want to be silently resentful. So that is something that I wanted to share with you today. I'm really glad that this episode suggestion came up, and it's funny that some of my clients, have actually been navigating this as well. It seems like many of my clients go through very similar things around the same time, which, I know is very hard, but at the same time makes for a wonderful opportunity to teach concepts. So remember that, you're not mean for not wanting to hold all of someone's emotional weight. Like, you're self-respecting, you're being emotionally responsible, you're making sure your gas tank doesn't become empty because you cannot give what you don't have. And likely outside of friendships, you're probably a mom or a wife or a spouse, or, you're a lot of things to a lot of people. And so you want your cup to be full. And it doesn't mean, if you're feeling these things, that you're walking away from your friendship. It just simply means that you have to sometimes walk back to yourself and regulate and figure out what's going on, and then have some tough conversations and see where things go. And if you need any help with any of this, I can definitely help you. The best way to kind of talk through different coaching ways that I can help based on what you've got going on, because everybody's life is so unique, is to get on MacyRenee.com and schedule a 60-minute free consult so that we can talk things through. And then if you like what we discuss and you feel ready to actually dive in and do the work, and it's both mutual for the both of us, then a lot of times coaching can be such a wonderful path to take to change the trajectory of so many aspects of your life, especially the pieces that you feel could use some improvement. So that is all for today, and I will see you again tomorrow and the next day. Lots of podcast episodes. I can't wait. See you soon. Hey there. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of This Is Not Your Practice Life podcast. If you'd like to connect on social media, you can find me on both Instagram and Facebook at Macy Renee Coaching. And if you want to stay up to date on all of my offers, announcements, and inspirational emails, you can join my email list at macyrenee.com. In addition, if there's a way that I can further support you in your coaching journey, you can schedule a free 60-minute consult at macyrenee.com anytime you want so we can discuss the best options for you. I look forward to seeing you next week, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.